right, let's do this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to another edition of the Uber Farmer Cigar in the Garage Talks. Because we have a very special guest here with a special topic. Say hello.
Hello.
Homeschooling Mama's here. Remember, you got to speak up so you're not all quiet.
I'm sorry, I'll try to speak up.
Yay, she's going to try. It's a very special. I actually have two different types of drinks because I think this is going to go a little bit longer than anticipated, possibly.
I don't know, not if you don't have a charge.
Right? Maybe if we lose battery, I'll have to run in real quick and grab another backup. You'll have to take on the show for a minute or two while I go get a backup battery. But anyway, let's start with what we're smoking, what we're drinking. What are you drinking?
Water.
Water, show off your water. And for one of the first times ever.
For one of the first times ever? No, I've had a drink here before. Trying this. Jim Beam honey liquor. I've had this before. It's actually pretty tasty, but it's been a while. I don't usually drink it.
Yep. Very good. Well, I'm going.
Mine.
We're going to split that. The Sakely's Choco Taco Pasty. I was just going to do, I was saving a special beer. From Dragon's Milk, Crimson Red. It's a red ale. But I felt really bad having a beer when you were having a hard drink.
You know, it's totally fine.
So I had the last of the Kirk and Sweeney rum, which I'm very excited about. But I think I'm going to start with the beer. So I'll crack that one open. I got to grab my bottle opener. Oh, and the cigar is from the Lansing Downtown Smoking Club cigar, no name, two-tone. Delicious, though.
It's weird that it's two-tone.
Yeah, that's why I got it. Because it's kind of a goofier looking cigar, but very, very tasty. So, Homeschooling Mama, why don't you kick us off while I pour? What are we celebrating with chocolate and cigars and beers and?
I don't know if I'd say celebration.
Let's not say celebration. What are we out here for?
Commemorating?
I was gonna go with after action or post mortem or.
Post-mortem just sounds wrong.
That does sound wrong.
So our Brazilian left this morning to go back to Brazil.
And when this video comes out, he'll be gone just under a week. Just under a week he's gone. But yeah, he just got on the plane.
Today.
We were recording this at 9:30 at night. He was...
So it's been less than 12 hours.
Less than 12 hours. He was wheels up on the plane at almost just before 11.
Just before 11, yeah.
And actually, as we're talking, if all goes well, he should be boarding his last flight for Brazil. As it leaves at, I believe, 9 or 9:30. I have to look at his itinerary.
Yeah. I know he made it to Atlanta fine. But I haven't heard from him, so...
Yeah, I believe it's at 9:30 is when he makes his final journey. And after a 9-hour plane ride, he'll finally be home at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, wahoo. So we figured last week we actually had our Brazilian in front of the camera finally. He kind of did a little bit of a year in review for him. Brought up memories, talked about challenges and why he does it. We've been kind of doing little ones here and there. I think we did 1 month, 3 months, 5 months, and now we're here at the end. He is officially gone home. We are now down a child. So yeah, what should we just jump in with the day's events? Where do you want to start with this?
I don't know.
Review.
You're kind of in charge of how you want to run that one.
Well, I guess we just go through. We'll do reverse order. So, interesting. We actually got him all packed up. That was my biggest worry, is that we were not actually going to be able to get him packed up. So, I guess spoiler alert, he didn't want to leave. Wasn't as bad as some people had warned me that Some exchange students will try everything to break their visa. His mom did say that, I think she texted you and said that he wants to come home, visit friends, and find a way back.
Yeah. But I think that means we did a good job.
I think so.
Like, I think the fact that he was so happy here means that, like, we did good.
Yeah.
So I'm taking that as a good thing. Like, it was hard because I felt so bad that we had to put him on the plane and send him home when he wanted to stay.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I know he's going to be happy seeing his mom and his brother and his friends. And I know that there's been parts being here that have been really hard because he hasn't been able to see friends and family. And so I'm going to, like, but I'm going to take it as a good sign, albeit unfortunate maybe, that he didn't want to leave. Because I think it means that he was genuinely happy. And I think that's a good thing.
I think he was very happy. I mean, there is some of it. He was, as much as the program and everyone says, just treat him like another child. No. We didn't treat him as super special. To a degree, we did treat him just like we would any of our other children, but we understood how significant, rare, and important this was. As the coordinator says, thousands of children try out for a spot to be considered. Hundreds make it. Of those hundreds, only the teens, 20s or teens, actually get placed. So it is pretty much winning the lotto. They send the best of their best, which, yes, I think Luis was. Or Brazilian, I know. Look at that.
Wow, it was you this
me.
time.
I broke it.
That never happens. You're still emotional.
A little bit. It was definitely an emotional day. The morning actually was going really well at first. So we got everything all packed up. Everyone was up early, of course. Our Brazilian got up at 5:30. Vashman was up at 5:31. Our youngest boy was up at 5:32. So there really was no hope. So even I got up early to take a shower and kind of get ready for the day. Started coffee. I think I started the oven, but then you guys had bagels, so.
We still heated them in the oven, but.
Yeah, so it was actually really like our Brazilian was ready to go. He, packed his last things. They were actually packed before I got out of my shower. Ready to load them up in the car. And, the first one to actually show signs of cracking was actually Vashman, which I was not expecting that. I expected him to show it like a few days later.
But he might still.
I'm sure he still will, but as far as like visibly affected by today's activities.
Oh, he was ready. He had his shoes on. He was ready to go at 7 o'clock. 7:30.
Shoes, hat.
I was like, you're staying here for now.
Very few words were said. He was very reserved, but you could also tell that he
was antsy.
More than a little on his mind, and he put on some sunglasses pretty quick. Gave our Brazilian a good old hug and said goodbye, because just in case something wonky happened, we had everyone say a preliminary goodbye. So I was surprised by that. I was surprised that he was the first one to.
Yeah, but at the airport he was stoic. He really didn't seem to have nearly as much trouble.
He left his sunglasses on. You're right. He had that stoicism. And actually got to the airport. The drive-in was cordial. I mean, it wasn't like subdued or. We made jokes and talked, tried to buy Starbucks coffee. That didn't go so well.
Oh, really?
He couldn't remember the name of the one he wanted. And so he just kind of shot from the hip and...
Not impressed with what he got.
He's not good at shooting from the hip. We've confirmed that a few times now. So, yeah, he wasn't impressed with it. It was like a hot chocolate coffee, mocha, something or other, but it was not good.
Not good, got it.
But yeah, so we had pretty much half of Rapid River High School show up to the airport. It kind of gave TSA a little bit of a heart attack because
Yeah, a bunch of the teen boys showed up first. They were there when I arrived. And
they
then
did show up. They came like 8:30, 8:45. The first
and we
slug
got there
showed up.
like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So they were there, and then the girls showed up after we did, and they were already crying and emotional.
They were crying. It was pretty rough. No real big, huge sobs yet. Just little like teary eyes, sniffly noses. And then we had one of the homeschool mom or the exchange student moms show up, and her biological daughter was like, "Oh yeah, she's a hot mess right now." And she was out and out, just bawling. What did she call it? An ugly crier?
Ugly crying.
Yeah, ugly crying right now, and she was not lying, not at all.
It was bad.
So, that was interesting. Okay, there was
But it's good that like so many connections were
There
made.
were a lot of connections. The one who lost it, surprised me. One of our Brazilians' first friend actually they met on the bus the first day, and he even says that, he saw how tall this guy is. Like, I didn't make friends with him so he can protect me. And actually helped our Brazilian out quite a bit, helped him get into sports and get involved, and had him spend the night at his house and whatnot. So they've been, best friends since day one. I don't know what was said, what happened, something triggered it.
But he was so sweet.
He's a very sweet guy, very nice, and like I said, just an absolute. I'm so glad they connected, because I think that really made his experience here just that much better. But yeah, he was the first one.
He did. He broke down.
Break down.
And he went in, like the first time he broke down, he went into the bathroom, and then everybody went to find him. Mm-hmm. And then he broke down again.
And it was a big, massive, guys were giving him.
He really had.
They did the sports team hugs, and he was not doing well with it. Of our family, if you don't count Vashman, Fairy Dancer was the next one who had a bit of a.
She went and gave him a hug, and then she lost it.
Lost it, yeah.
And then Swedish Compass gave her a hug because she was crying while she was hugging the Brazilian, and of course that made Swedish Compass start to get emotional and cry.
She did a couple of times. She got a couple of tears squeaked out.
Yeah,
so.
Fairy Dancer cried a lot.
Yep. Dad got some pretzel salt in his eye. It wasn't bad. Just a little misty eye. It's okay. Homeschooling Mama didn't even say goodbye at first because she knew if she spoke, she'd start. So I don't want to hear it.
I gave him a hug. I said goodbye, but I knew if I said many words, I would probably start to bawl. So I was like, I gave him a good hug. I told him we're gonna miss him.
Yep.
I told him he'll be okay.
Yep. Yeah, you didn't say the same thing he said to me, so I'm.
Oh yeah, he told me that he loves us and he's gonna miss us, and that thank you so much, and it's really meant so much to him, and
and then
he started to cry. Couldn't say a lot, so
yep.
I felt bad because he had been holding it together.
He'd been holding it
well.
all right. He'd been doing all right.
And then he hugged you, and he started to lose it, and then he hugged me, and I think he really
What was it the girls said? It's because he leaned forward.
He had to bend down and lean forward,
so
it all spilled out.
It all spilled out. That was cute.
But moms cause waterworks. Like if I have to hug my mom because I'm upset, I'll cry. So moms just cause waterworks.
True story. Wild and Free Wolf actually was doing pretty good.
If our Brazilian is watching this, she really was trying to remain stoic all through it. She was not happy you were leaving.
No.
But she was like
She was bound and determined to be the stoic little sister.
Not to make it any hard on you.
Yeah, wanted to keep it easy on you and just really focus on you.
We hadn't even pulled out.
Nope, we got buckled up. We just made the first turn to get out of the parking lot. And I hear, damn it! And
dang it,
damn it, whatever. I
hear, and then I look around and she's just
lost it. Full on, probably the worst breakdown out of anyone there. Just full on. I mean,
and of course, the sister sitting next to her then lost it.
Actually, both of them.
Yep.
Both of them lost it. I couldn't see in the back, but I'm sure there was others who probably joined in the fight. Almost had to pull over, but I kind of figured getting away from the airport was...
The airport may be ruined for Fairy Dancer because even though he came in from that airport, the leaving was so hard.
Yep.
It may be dead to her.
Could be dead to her. But,
and we were doing fine. Like, they all settled down a little bit. They were doing okay. And then...
Well, we were going to go and just get him out of town. We were just going to...
We're going to go about an hour and a half away.
Go about an hour and a half away, go to explore a city, have some fun, but I think we made a good call. Last minute, we said, no, why don't we just kind of play around town and then head home. We were in town for maybe all of like 5 minutes, and the first one's like, can we just go home? Can we, like, I was like, well, we're going to go to a bookstore. Like, fine, we'll go to the bookstore, but then let's just go home. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. A lot of them were mentally and emotionally exhausted.
Well, and before we went anywhere, we had to go get gas. And one of them saw a cool car. I don't know if this has come up in any of the other conversations, but our Brazilian loves cool cars. So one of them's like, oh, look, a cool car. And then they all just cried.
Started losing it. So our Brazilian would, as we're driving down the road, you know, it was one of my biggest pet peeves. He goes, oh, cool car. And like, just that inhale, especially when you're on, like, you know, middle of a snowy road in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden a Mustang pops up. So yeah, one of them said, I don't know who even said it. And
I don't know.
All the kids burst into emotion. So. Which
was simultaneously funny and sad.
Well, I was laughing more than I was crying, but it was too soon. Too soon.
I don't think it has all hit me yet that he's gone, because like watching the kids cry, watching his friend cry was just, that killed me. Like I almost started to cry watching him cry. Like I was like, oh my God. So I didn't really break down in the airport, mostly because I know if I cry, the kids are going to lose it worse, and they're not going to be able to get like any semblance of control, and I didn't want to do that to them.
No, that was mine too, and I wanted to more crack jokes and stuff to make the mood lighter, and because everyone, I mean, someone said something in one of my teams at work that you gotta let them, have a good cry with them. I'm like, no, we all know it's sad. We all know it's, what's the significance that some of those guys may never see him again. There is a small chance we might not even see him again. We're going to keep in touch, of course, thanks to technology and whatnot. But I mean, that thought is still there. But, it does no one any good if everyone is bawling their eyes out. And if key people, if mommies cry, then...
Yeah, I looked at Fairy Dancer crying, and it was really hard hugging her as she's crying and shaking, like not to cry, but at the same time I'm like, and it's not like I don't want the kids to see me cry, because I don't care if they see me cry, but I don't want to make their sadness worse.
Yeah. And if our Brazilian is watching, for the few people who do know us and watch these videos, we did come home at about 1 o'clock. And the kids played video games until 9 o'clock at night straight. We paused for dinner. We had
cleaning. We had them cleaning.
We had a little clean, but normally it's 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. It's just an hour or two.
Everybody got video game time because they were so.
Yeah, we knew they kind of had to dial into something else and have a distraction. Yeah. I'm probably calling into work tomorrow. My boss was warned about this, so. But yeah, I think it'll take a little bit to really truly hit that. We don't have to take an extra car anywhere. We don't. I even bought way too much pizza.
Oh my gosh, you came home with so much food. That's enough for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of food. I was kind of shocked. I'm like, well, you said so. You went to the pizza place to get take and bake pizzas. Papa
You can say
Murphy's.
Papa Murphy's, yeah, it doesn't matter.
And I was like, okay. And I just drove home with all of the kids except one.
Yep.
With all of the kids except one.
That's how tired and spent they
Done.
were.
And we went to a couple of stores.
Even the two youngest were because usually they were can I go in your car? Can I go in your car? They're like, okay. Fairy Day or Wild and Free Wolf, you can go. Dad needs your help. We're gonna stay here.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. They were very subdued on the drive home. I did ask on the drive home. I was like, so now that we've had to say goodbye to Louise, darn it, and it was so hard. Do you guys even want to consider doing another exchange student? And all of them said yes.
They did.
Which surprised me only
It was.
because this was emotionally really hard the last week, 2 weeks. It was really hard. And honestly, the first, couple weeks were a bit of an adjustment too.
The first couple of weeks were tricky, which we expected. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just.
But I think they were prepared for that. They knew that it was going to take a little bit to get used to a new kid in the house. And honestly, every one of them, except for the youngest, has had to get used to a new kid in the house at some point in their life. So they all have some experience with that. But, yeah. So if you're watching our Brazilian, I was very, very emotional. I just don't show it as much as...
There was some pretzel salt for me, but it's,
there was some pretzel salt for you. No, I didn't. I really when I'm quiet is probably when it's the worst.
When I'm cracking jokes, that's to...
So the fact that I didn't say a lot when you gave me a hug, and the fact that I didn't say a lot while everybody was there is because I didn't want to break down. So just know that we do love you and we miss you already.
Beautiful letter, by the way. We did read your letter you left. So.
Yes, we did read that.
Hopefully you're surviving your time in Sao Paulo and relatives, and your mom doesn't overfeed you too much. She was definitely threatening that all around.
But she is so excited for you to come home. She has been messaging me since 7:30 this morning, so I know she's super excited.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the kids, I think that's something, a topic we'll have to approach in a couple weeks. And we're 100% for all those who are wondering. We're not doing another exchange student this coming year. We're taking a year off for sure.
We want to wait until our older teens have driver's licenses, and that was one of the hardest things, is being able to be in so many different places for so many different kids all at once. So until the teens have driver's licenses or feel confident driving, because Vashman does have his level 1. Until they feel confident driving and have their license, we would rather wait. And we figure another year and they should be there. Both of the older teens. Not that we would want our teens to drive an exchange student or anybody else around, but just to know that there is another driver available when I'm at work or you're at work, or somebody gets sick, or just knowing that there is another capable driver would make things so much easier.
Yeah. Well, and it. With even Vashman's getting really close to graduation, I think he needs a year we need to focus in on him.
Yeah.
Probably not going to graduate next year. I mean, it is possible, but
he totally could. He's definitely capable of passing and finishing high school next year. As far as credits, he's got them, but he would rather wait until he's actually 18 to graduate. And he will not
a full year of 18, because he will be 18 at the end of the school year next year.
Well, he won't turn 18 until after school stops, so...
Hairs, here we split.
Yeah.
But, we're definitely taking a year off. Now, we had initially planned on 2 years off. just because that was going to be Vashman's senior year that following year. But I mean, this whole time he's basically said, "No, I'm cool. I'm cool with that." If it,
Yeah.
so we might take another one in 14 that would be 2015, I guess.
2015.
2015.
No,
we might.
2025. Where are you at?
Apparently 10 years ago. So it's back when we had less kids. So it was
3,
easier.
4.
Yeah, 4.
So, yeah, I think we will take another one. Swedish Compass really wants to have a girl foreign exchange student that she can share a room with and stuff. And actually, all the kids are like, well, I'd like an exchange student my age. And I had to explain that we really don't send 10-year-olds across the world to do this. So I imagine this will become a thing every few years, maybe.
We'll see. I mean, I'm a little skittish because the coordinator said that, our exchange student was the unicorn. And we still had struggles. We still had problems. We still had, hiccups and adjustments. And so, and we also heard some horror stories from...
I think it's more the horror stories. But, I mean, the coordinator also did say, like, he basically fits into your family. Like he is like a missing puzzle piece. Like, he just belongs with your family. It's like he was born into your family. And you don't usually see that happen. And she actually said she's never seen such a perfect placement, which is a little intimidating and scary when you think about it. But, I mean, we also went into it with the, like, we'll see how this goes. We're gonna, we're gonna give this weeks and see how it goes. It's an
adventure.
It's an adventure, and very open-minded. I think we went into it, or tried to go into it very open-minded and understanding that.
Well, we were very selective. You did pick his profile because it did seem like on paper he sounded like, another member of the family. So.
Well, his profile, but honestly, I picked him because I just felt like he was the one. And honestly, like, we weren't looking for an exchange student. No. I was just randomly reading posts on Facebook, which I deleted off my phone, by the way. So I should not be reading these posts randomly anymore. But I randomly was reading the posts, and his bio just, like, honestly, like, I know you say I get feelings, but I read his bio and I was like, no, this is just like, we need to do this. Like, this student needs us, and we need this student. And I still don't think it was wrong. Like, I think that was true. Like, I think we were meant to bring him here.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing there. Any of the slightest, again, once you get a feeling, I just have to accept it and move on. So that's all there is to it. I can't say anything in objection.
You could.
Well, it's not worth it. Never ends well if I do. So it's we'll see what the future holds for that. But let's kind of talk about a year in review.
Okay.
Do you think that's where we should head, or do you want to keep going down this?
No, we can do that.
Kind of a year in review. So, we did the Ronas Remember, which is getting actually a lot of
Publicity.
Wow, publicity. It's getting, people are very curious about that, and people are actually making their own. So, for another video though. So I don't know what to call it. Exchange, remember?
Year in review.
Year in review. Year of the Brazilian. So maybe we'll have one from another country. So this is the year of Brazilian. So looking back, what was your greatest concern going into this, and was it ever warranted?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I guess personalities. We have so many kids. Now, our kids are usually super friendly, super accepting.
Awkward, non-socialized homeschoolers that they are.
They're super tolerant. They are super... But they also do not like to be treated poorly. So, I like, one of my fears was, okay, if our Brazilian comes and he's, disrespectful, rude, like, teases them or picks on them or does anything like that, like, our kids do draw a line in the sand. like they are very tolerant, loving, and accepting. But if somebody bullies them,
Yeah.
they don't tolerate, like they don't accept it, they don't take it. They will tell them that's not okay. We don't do that, and they walk away. And they don't just like change their mind over night. They don't make that determination that somebody is a bully overnight though either. But
Yeah.
that person has to be pretty rough several times before they do that. So I guess that would have been one of my biggest concerns and fears is like what's going to happen with all these kids and their like different personalities, because every kid taunts and teases another kid. Like that's just common. Like our kids pick at each other, sibling rivalry a little bit here and there. Normal.
Yeah.
So I have to admit one of my biggest concerns is like culturally, is that going to be acceptable? And one, for one, but two, like, are there going to be like head clashes, like horrible, like fights and stuff? I actually was not worried at all about Vashman sharing his room because when he commits to something and says that he'll be fine with it, he's usually okay with it.
And if this question was asked in reverse, which I'm guessing you were going to, but that was on my top 3.
Really?
There were 2.5. I had 2.5, and the half is only because it only became an issue like after we'd already accepted him and he was actually on his way. But I'll explain that in a second. So, yeah, I totally thought because Vashman has never shared a room. He's always, and he's very particular about his space is his space. We did have a couple of dust-ups with that. Now, I'm calling them dust-ups because they weren't actual fights or anything. It was just
they weren't really that big of a deal.
It was actually handled with a lot of logic, reasoning, and just kind of okay. But there was 2 days in the whole 10 months where I was like, oh boy, here it comes the fisticuffs,
See,
here comes the fight, here comes
because we questioned like we didn't, even though this happened quickly, like because it did happen quickly with accepting an exchange student. We didn't just like, are you sure? Like ask once.
Yeah,
and,
it wasn't just
it was
multiple conversations.
Do you know what
yeah.
this isn't going to entail? Do you understand that this means you have to share your room? And so when he was committed to it, I was like, okay, it's going to be fine.
So beyond that, which again, it wasn't really founded, it actually went quite well. I thought there'd be more. And
honestly, had our Brazilian been a different kind of kid, it might have been.
It may have been. It's very, very, very possible. The other one was straight up pragmatic and just numbers and cents. 2 vehicles, another mouth to feed. We were told he has to pay for everything, but I do know my personality and I can't handle that. Like I can't handle if I'm taking, everyone out to eat. So like we went to like Pizza Hut and like places you could get like group food, so he'd stop buying because I can't deal with that. If I'm taking my kids out to McDonald's, I'm buying you McDonald's, and it actually caused a little tension, but not tension, I guess a little awkwardness because he was very much told, no, you can't accept a lot of stuff like that, and
well, unfortunately, we don't eat out tons. So.
We don't eat tons, but it's a lot of stuff like that, like him buying his own clothes just ate the shit out of me. Like that was like, because even when I was working part-time in EMS making, dog shit wages, my kids wore good clothes. They had nice boots. They had nice winter jackets. And I bought them. Even though we had family members on both sides who were like, well, what sizes are they? Because I want to buy the winter coat. No. So to have him buy his own was like, that ate the shit out of me.
See, it didn't bother me, but I also, I took him shopping a couple times, and very quickly, within days of him being here, I realized that he has a very particular taste, and he
that did make it better,
there are a few things we bought him for, Christmas and Easter, and he wears them a lot. Mm-hmm. But, each gift that I got him, I really took time to search and find and
And that's very true because my kids, they're gonna wear nice shoes, but they're not Nike.
Yeah.
Like, because they're going to be destroyed. I know this. Or they're going to be, sorry, Brazilian, stolen
Or lost.
or lost. My bad. Too soon? Too soon? Skip this part. So that was one. The one that was, and this is why I say I have 2.5. And it's something that I thought would be great because when I was in school, we had a lot of exchange students, and they were always well received. But one of the host parents were like, well, we were talking with them. I can't remember which one it was, to be honest with you. We were talking in one of the meetings. They're like, well, are you guys, how are you guys with, dealing with discrimination? So that's what happened to me the other night. That light finally kicked on. I was like, wait, what? And like, well, yeah, like one of the schools, I won't call out the school, but it's a bigger school here. Like the exchange students get discriminated and harassed and like bullied because of their ethnicity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she's like, so just so you know, like you're ready for that, right? Because the school here is a little bit like
Wait a minute. Are you talking about at the first meeting when we met?
one of them, I don't remember who.
I think it was a couple from an hour and a half away. No?
No, because they listed the
Oh.
one that has the current issue with other problems.
Well,
going
I mean,
on.
that's not a surprise then.
Well, and that's why I was like, oh my God. They're having.
No, I think like everybody loved.
Oh, no. Because see, when I went to school, and I went to an all-white school, except for like 2 people, so we had exchange students of different ethnicities, and they were accepted and welcomed, and it like was not a thing.
Yeah.
I can't
No, it
remember. I
was
think
never
a
a thing in
Brazilian
my
said
school.
but your school was quite diverse compared to mine.
All right, my school was mostly minorities.
So I was really nervous, and actually when his buddy met him on the bus, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I met a friend on the bus," and he's so excited, like, "Hey, yes, let's go," because it's a lot of hillbillies, it's a lot of
Oh, be nice.
honey, you weren't there for it, so they were talking about who was going to be the first person to get arrested, and the boys that showed up,
Oh my God.
and get this. They all agreed. Even the kid they said was going to get arrested. Yeah, it's going to be me. I'm going to get arrested first. Like, oh my God. Let's just straight up. I grew up in a town just like that. I mean, it wasn't a matter of like, it was just who was going to get arrested first, not if it was going to happen. It was,
I see.
yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I grew up in that culture. I'm going to take my foot off this chair and make a lot of squeaky noises.
Okay, and I grew up in a culture where if you made it to 14 without being arrested, you were doing good.
Same thing. I mean, same thing, straight up. So I was very nervous because they are a bunch of hillbillies and rednecks. Not derogatory. That's just they would agree.
He was well received.
Oh, very much.
Actually, I think all the exchange
I
students here.
I think I owe the football coach a Coke.
He was
probably because he
welcomed
did
him.
very welcoming, very big, especially with the football team and in school. Even like made sure that, and I don't want to say he looked over him, but his introduction. I don't know if I put that. His like, he's coming here. It's going to be great. It's going to be good for the team, good for us, good for you, good for me.
Well, and I think he does such a good job of trying to build a true team family with the players, and that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's just great.
You don't see that every day, and honestly, they weren't the best team. They didn't win that many. Like I think they only won 2 games all season, but he really did. Like he worked to keep them together as a family, and
yeah, they did. I give a lot of props to that coach. But yeah, that was one of my fears, is that it was going to be a bunch of really racist, because where there's micro racism and aggression, no, we have straight up, like we have like the legit ones
I
up here.
really don't think he experienced anything like that, really though. And I'm
I
glad.
meant to ask him. I when I did the interview if he had, but he never mentioned it once. Well, okay, there were a couple of incidences, but they were so low key. So one of the basketball teams.
Oh.
And this
Okay,
almost
but-
got the coach ejected.
But that wasn't, I think it was more to do with his height than anything else, because by then he was super pale.
So what happened? No, he had enough though that so he's 6'6". He sticks
6'5".
out. He's got a big afro going. So what happened is they were playing a game, and one of the opposing coaches was like, "Who's covering the Amazon? The Amazonian? Who's covering the Amazon? Who's covering the Amazon?" And like it was bad enough, the ref pulled the coach aside, and I don't know what he said to him. A couple of the parents even were like, "Like you can't say
And I don't
that."
think he meant any.
I don't think the coach
Somebody
made
so
anything.
tall.
Our Brazilian didn't like we
I don't
told
even know
him, and
that he
he's
heard
like
it.
he didn't hear, but he's like, "The Amazon, yes,
I'm
let's
so
go!
cool."
I'm so cool. I'm the Amazon." Like he took right to it, which I think that's kind of what the coach meant. Was it just to be like
The big guy.
the big guy? Like he didn't want to say
Yeah.
the big guy. He wanted to make sure you knew who it was, and I get it. But at the same time, it was like.
Yeah.
So, shift gears on you. What was some of your biggest hopes, like positives instead of what some of the fears you had, was some of the biggest like, I hope to gain from this program, and did it ever come to fruition?
Oh, well, okay. So I had hoped to learn Portuguese, and I did do okay with the few weeks that I actually spent with dedicated focus. But between two jobs and everything else going on, I really didn't give it the attention it needed. But I am happy to say that I picked up enough Portuguese that like he could understand me whenever I tried to speak. So that was good. But I mean, I wanted the kids to connect. And they did. I think they connected very well. I wanted them to have that cultural experience of like a different culture, and I think they really did.
And unfortunately, I think they'll get more of a culture experience. Nothing against you if you are watching this. The next exchange student, I think they'll get more because
think they've learned a lot on how to.
They went. They all, I think, didn't realize how quickly 10 months can.
Yes.
Because the last month has been nothing but like, do you have card games? Do you have languages? Do you have tradition? You know, what do you do for this? What do you do for that? What do you do? Can you show us how to do this? How?
Yeah.
I mean, there was some of that throughout the year. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it was radio silence, but and it may be the next exchange will be the same thing. Mostly, it's just little things here and there, and then at the end, it's oh, we forgot to ask. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Well, and at the beginning, when he first got here, it was a lot of that. Like, hey, wait, what do you do here? What do you do here? What do you do here? To the point where we were like, okay, let's stop with all these questions.
Right, let's stop
slow
with
it
20
down.
questions.
So I do think that had a little bit to do with
Yeah.
it. But I feel like they made deep connections. I think they learned a lot, not just about like Brazilian culture, but about themselves and about.
I was gonna say a lot about themselves, and they also got a good exchange program with the public school life.
Yes, they learned a lot about.
A couple of them were
life.
very questioning.
Interested, curious.
Well, they're questioning homeschooling, interested in maybe that public school, and then they got a good taste of what it would be because that is our closest school, and they were not thrilled with it. They were not impressed. We were not impressed as well. We're still on the right track, I think, with our schooling. But yeah, I definitely think a couple of them had a lot of personal growth, which there was some that I was kind of shocked with. I was like, wow, it's I was not expecting that. Vashman was one of them who really had, like, this year especially, he's been like being a lot more outgoing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I kind of try to give him a break. When your youngest brother is 10 years younger than you, almost exactly.
Yeah.
And all you have to deal with are sisters, it's hard to really make some connections sometimes. Because when he tries to play and goof off, the girls take it as really too rough and like they don't like to horse around. And he can't really horse around with.
And more though, our exchange student went out with friends like constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Vashman was like, well, no, I couldn't do that. I'm like, yeah, if you want to go hang out at someone's house until 2 o'clock in the morning, like, we can, that's fine.
Not until 2 o'clock.
Well, you know what I mean. If you want to go to someone's house, you want to spend the night, you want to, we have no problems with that. It's not because he's our exchange student.
I think both of the teens realized that, a lot of this is us keeping us from doing stuff.
Which, I mean, it's not like we were holding them back. It is literally they had this
Like, just never thought of it.
wrong. Well, I think they had a wrong impression. Like, they thought we would just say no without even asking us. Like, no, well, Mom and Dad would never let us do that. But then we let the exchange student do it, and I had a conversation with both, like, no, you guys, like, if you want to do this, like, this isn't...
I told you multiple times.
Yeah,
but
we
you
tried.
have to arrange it. Like, I'm not going to call and make a play date for a teenager.
So that was really... that was good. I was hoping for some personal growth. I was duly shocked on the growth we did have.
I think they all learned a lot. They grew a lot.
Yeah, they definitely matured quite a bit.
Which is saying something, because I don't think our kids were, like, horribly immature.
And maybe mature isn't the word. I think there's a better word for it, because they almost had a paradigm shift.
So I think they did learn a lot. I think that they, we say, like, you can love friends like family, but, like, we're a pretty close-knit family. And the fact that, like, they all just welcomed him with open arms. Like, they took him for who he was, and they just welcomed him. And I think seeing them be able to do that, like, one, I mean, I wasn't surprised that they just accepted him right in.
No, I was...
Because they are that way. They're very
accepting.
accepting. But the fact that, like they're all devastated. Like, they truly feel like he is their brother. And I don't think that will ever change. Like, he will be their brother from now until the end. Like, this is their brother.
And there's a part of me that doesn't want to do another exchange program, because, like...
Will that weaken
weaken the connection at all. And we even had some of the host parents talk about how, like, they had other host students come up, and, like, there was animosity between the current host student and the returning one. And
Right.
It's like, okay, well, I don't want that. Like, and it is. I mean, I'm sure in a few weeks here I'll do a video where I talk about how, it's really hitting me that, I've lost a child. There was one person who was talking about how, like, they almost have, like, a wake when the child is, like, they know this is it. That child is gone. And I do feel that a little bit. Like, this is, I've lost a child. It's, it's someone I stayed up late worrying about, because he would never text. If you're watching,
never show up on time.
Show up on time. Brazilian time is not a thing in the U.S. I'm sorry. And then I worried about his schooling, and that, like I said, one of the biggest fears I had was I was afraid he was going to be discriminated against, and I was ready to go to war, and I had the paintball gun. I had paintballs frozen, ready to go. So.
No. But I think it all, like, my goal was for the kids to, like, learn about another country, experience another culture, have the chance to, like, just grow. And I think they did that. I think it was all successful.
I do really enjoy that they got, I'm going to call it culture slapped. Because we talk about what we have in the U.S. That we don't have in other countries. And I think we can say these words, and they are just that. They're words. But to have someone come and explain, well, no, we can't just go and buy a car. Like, like Vashman was talking about, the next, he's got some money saving up, and he's going to get a job, and he's just going to go buy a car within the next year. And, like, our exchange was like, that doesn't have, like, you're 25, 26 before 30 before you even can consider getting a car, if you can get one, and then if you can get a permit to drive. And it was a culture shock for him to be like, so I could just go and, like, buy a Mustang right now. Like, yeah, there's actually some for sale, and, like, it was really funny. There was a it was a Corvette that was for sale on US 2. And so I was like, what do you think? What do you think? Like, it's only, they only wanted like, I think $4,000 or $5,000. It was older, not in great condition. She's like, wow, it's got a soft top. I don't want a soft top. I'm like, just out of curiosity, if you were in Brazil and you saw that same car in Brazil for that price, he's like, it would be mine. He's like, but you can be choosy here in America. You can say, no, it's got a soft top. I'm not going to buy it.
But that's good that he's learned that here, too. Because when he first got here, it was, oh my gosh, you can buy any of these cars for $2,000. I'm like, do you realize that these cars are going to cost more to fix than they are to buy?
Yep.
So
I think that was really nice to talk about, what we can do in the U.S. that other countries can't. And transversely, though, it was also nice for them to learn that there's some stuff you can do in Brazil that it's not acceptable here. Whether that is staying out with friends or, just understanding. It was really funny. I think I shared this story. We went to the Mall of America and we went to their SeaWorld and I was all excited. I thought I was going to...
Yeah, you shared this one.
Yeah, I did share this one, but I'll share it again because it's just, I kind of get funny, kind of laugh at it. And like, I'm like, oh, you get to see all these exotic creatures and animals. And he's like, yeah, we eat like half of these on a daily basis. Like, they're not exotic when they're
in the Amazon.
When they're in the Amazon, right next to you. He's like, oh yeah, these ones are a pest. We just spray these for this.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't think of that.
But that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, I mean, I don't regret taking him in at all.
No.
Not even a little bit.
No, it was definitely a struggle at times to work out logistics. I mean, logistics was the biggest issue, was how do we get people from point A to point B.
And like dealing with rides that fall through.
Yeah, and at first we were very, very stern. He could not ride with friends. Mm-hmm. I think that lasted until January, and then...
I think it was closer to March.
Closer to March. That could very well be. Once the weather started to get a little better, we loosened up, but...
Well, he could ride with friends if their parents were driving.
Mm-hmm. Or if he lied to us and told us their parents were driving.
No, most of the time I was home when he came home, so I saw that the parents were driving.
Yeah, I think some of those parents were a little younger than I.
Anyway. So, yeah.
Younger every year.
Like, I don't think there was, like, anything in the experience that I'm like, I'm never doing this again.
Right.
He was a great student. He was a great kid to have around. Now, I think I would make the next student do a lot more chores with the rest of the kids.
Some chores, the hammer's going to drop. You definitely taught us that we need to drop the hammer a little harder on chores. We definitely smiled before Christmas on that one.
Which, I mean, that was part on us. Like, we did, like, tell him to do chores, and if he was specifically instructed to do them, he did them. But it wasn't like hey, do this. But a lot of that is, we do chores in the afternoon.
Yeah, once
we finish our lessons and before he comes home from school. So he'd come home from school or practice and everything was mostly done.
And on the weekends, mostly it was complaint-free, helping out with the animals. And I will put mostly. There were some...
Well, I don't blame him for some of it because he had really nice, rather expensive basketball shoes to start that he was wearing into the chicken coop and the rabbit pen, which not ideal. Nope. And finding him, galoshes because he's not a small person. So that wasn't like easy, at least not for a reasonable price. Like I would have easily bought him a pair of those boots, but they didn't come in his size for a reasonable price. So.
No. So, what is post Mall of America? Because we did a video on that. Mm-hmm. To now, what's some memorable moments you want to share?
So after Mall of America?
After Mall of America, but like up until he left about 12 hours ago.
It's not because I can't think of any, it's because there's just so many different...
Well, and I'm going to let this one out. you weren't involved with it, but it was memorable for me. We may have broken a rule.
Oh no! Don't do this one.
Oh no, this one's
No,
gonna happen
no,
because this
no,
week.
no.
Why?
Not on. No, not
Oh
on
yeah,
the
no, it's
podcast.
fine.
No,
It's not like it's gonna
no,
happen.
no.
Seriously,
I think so. I think that's a bad idea.
I don't think so.
I do.
I showed all his friends the videos while we were in the airport. So.
Okay, well then the people know. So
Yes, they know. So we're gonna let it out.
No,
Come on,
No.
this is memorable for me.
you didn't let.
Fine, Killjoy. Well, cryptic. He got the same bruise you got. I don't know if you saw it.
Yes, I did see it.
He got a very telling bruise for a very specific reason because he wouldn't listen, as normal people seem to not want to listen to my advice with this recreational activity.
We listen. We just
Don't comply.
quite understand.
Don't understand that a certain specification on the box. Anyway, that was really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I was actually really surprised on how much the kids also really.
Well, they like doing that anyway.
But they got more entertainment on watching him do it.
Oh. Okay, so admittedly, I can't, I'm not going to pinpoint after Minnesota, but this entire experience, watching him experience new things has been really interesting and fun. It's kind of like watching a toddler experience snow for the first time, or watching, a lot of the stuff he experienced was for the first time, and it was really interesting to see him experience that. Experience open fields and land and space and...
Well, and yeah, just so you know, we did see you the last 2 weeks, sitting by the river, walking the property line, just being out, seeing all the different sights and whatnot.
I did tell him he's welcome back anytime.
Well, of course, that's just a given, as long as legal. But yeah, it was very interesting. Stuff like slaughtering bunnies and
the deer, helping with the deer,
butchering a deer. I wish we could have gotten him out actually hunting, but he was allowed to go hunting with a crossbow. But
I don't know if he was allowed to hunt with a crossbow. He was allowed to shoot a bow.
He was allowed to shoot. He could have went hunting with it, but it was kind of a dollars and cents didn't equal up to a quarters type things, and we just couldn't make that happen. Which I do feel a little bad because that is an experience. It's a very Youper experience too, to be a part of a hunt. So I wish we could have made that happen, but oh well.
True, but we did make a lot of other stuff happen, so.
I know my family was very excited. There was he wanted to get, so we're towards the last 2 months, last month actually. He was bound to determine there's certain things you can't find in Brazil. One of them is a PS5.
PS5, yeah.
If you can find them, they're horribly expensive. So he was doing everything he could, using all the Biden math he could, all the Clinton math, trying to get enough money to buy his own PS5.
Asking his family and
friends, brother, cousins, neighbors, sisters, uncle type thing, and he was on track. I think he could have done it. But I kind of talked to my brothers and sisters and grandmas and grandpas and whatnot, and they've been hounding me for a while, saying they wanted to get him something because it's the first exchange student. So I think I've shared this. I don't know. Actually, I probably didn't, because I just found out some information that my sister was an exchange student. I shared that freely. My parents did fundraisings and activities for Rotary. But I did not know that this all got kicked off because my grandmother, 60 years ago, took in an exchange student, and they still have, my aunt still is demanding that we have very good contact with our Brazilian family now and make sure it lasts for 60 years. So we'll try. But they were like, I'm the first one of my brothers and sisters and even some of my cousins to have an exchange student. which I'm sure if you put on the list the top 10 people in our family who would accept an exchange student, I'm pretty sure we were number 11
I was gonna say, like,
on expectations.
again, like, it was not something we had ever planned to do. And honestly, I think we would do it again, but like,
Oh, it was 110% not on my radar.
no,
When you
not.
approached me with it, that was like, this is dumb. Then you said the magic word. I've got a feeling about this. I'm like, okay. So they actually pooled together some money. We chipped in some too.
Grandma and Grandpa chipped in.
Grandma and Grandpa's and my parents chipped in a couple of bucks. More than a couple, but
They all chipped in.
they all chipped in. We were actually able to get him a PS5. And his reaction was beyond priceless.
Yes.
It was really funny, and we talked in his video about it. He straight up, he opened it, and he thought it was a prank. He thought it was, we got you. And he's like, no, they would not be that evil. This is to show me that, yes, that we got him a suitcase, we put it inside the suitcase. This was this must be that, like, to let me know that it'll fit in this suitcase. He's like, I picked it up and it was heavy. And I'm glad we can make that happen. I don't know if I mentioned in the previous video, the last video, but that did cause a lot of tension in the exchange student group.
I don't know.
I do.
I think everybody was happy for him though, because I think everybody genuinely likes him, like genuinely.
Well, they
cares.
knew that was something he had talked, because we got our kids one for Christmas, and it is all that in a bag of chips. It is definitely.
Well,
it's not
he
gimmicky.
obviously was able to use it as much as everybody else.
He even got his own account, so he made sure he could have his games, and which we got to delete that off our PlayStation. That's gonna be a hard day, but it's coming up here very quick because his games are huge. So, I mean, it was something everyone knew that he wanted, and it was. Now, again, our kids. So when you get these, this is how we knew he was probably fit in. I think he lied a little bit, but I think they all do on those survey forms. But he said, "What's one thing you want to do in the U.S.?" And he's like, "Well, I want to get a real lightsaber. I want to get a lightsaber." Spoiler alert: we didn't get him a lightsaber. It was on our list. We kind of looked around. They're hard to find. We were gonna make some.
That was one of his goals, though.
That was one of his goals. I do feel a little bad we didn't get him one. But for some reason, I think he's willing.
I think the
Even Swedish Compass was a little like, but Dad, he never got his lightsaber. Like, what are we gonna do? I'm like, ask him. Like, if it's that big of a deal, we'll make it happen. That's just what we do. And he kind of had this like, he looked at her like, are you serious? Like,
I have
look,
the PS5.
there's hopes and dreams, and then there's miracles here. Okay, like, yeah, I got a PS5 like for free, and this is something. And Luis, it's perfectly fine, but technically he stole some of my games. It took him to Brazil.
What game?
I don't remember. There was a couple of them like, oh, I kind of wanted to play that one, but it was like his bag. Like, it was his, like, this is my game. This is, and I didn't really care. Like, it wasn't a big deal. He wanted one more. He wanted Mortal Kombat, but like, I really wanted, like.
Oh, well, we kind of got that for him, I think.
Well,
I think that was in his Easter basket.
No, that was one I bought. And there was a 4-pack I bought. He's like, these are all my bag. These are all, like, there's Call of Duty, the World War II one, and there's Mortal Kombat, and we got.
Well, Mortal Kombat I bought specifically because he wanted it. I don't think I bought it for him, but I bought it because he wanted it.
No, I bought that one.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure.
Nope, I bought it because I was like, wow, it says mature and blood and how, I mean, I remember Mortal Kombat. It must be fine. And then I watched him play it and I'm like, oh, it's not fine. It's not fine.
No.
So don't play that around your mother.
That Mortal Kombat actually stayed here.
Oh, okay.
I went back and forth on that one, and I really wouldn't have cared, but there was just a lot going on, and my brain wasn't in the right spot because I really wouldn't have cared. And I still don't, but yeah, he did take one or two games. I won't say which ones that I was like, oh, I wanted to play that one, but
They'll be easy enough to get later.
yeah, they're easy enough to get here. So now, one of the cool things, and I wasn't fully thinking this when we got it for him, was this is a way that he can connect now with our kids. We can play games.
Yeah.
Intersystem, they can talk to them, so we might actually have to get the kids their own accounts, which is something we've been toying with anyway. So yeah, that was really cool. That's something I didn't think we'd be able to do. He didn't think he'd be able to do. We were able to pull off. He did learn that there is definitely some disparity, shall we say, in women's formal attire versus male formal attire. So he went to prom, and it was something that like he was, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to go to prom. I said, okay, that's cool. That's it's a. He explained that was actually a very American thing. They don't have formal dances and formal. They do have dances, but they're not like tuxes and events.
They have lots of dances, so they don't need to make them formal.
Yeah, they don't have to be formal. So he talked to some of the girls, and they're buying these dresses for like $100 and.
Well, like $150, but they get to keep theirs, and he had to return his tux.
That was an American shell shock, so one, the price was pretty bad. I believe it was $160 for him to rent a tux. It was not the premier tux; it was just a tux. And honestly, I've rented tuxes for a lot more than that.
Right. Thank you. All the times we've been in weddings.
Right. Thank you to my uncle or my brother and friends, and it was worth it. Don't think it wasn't, but yeah, he got to rent a tux, and then he's like, "So what do I get to keep of all this?" I'm like, "The socks. You get to keep the socks." He's like, "What?" But I paid extra for those, and that's why you're keeping the socks. So he realized that he had to return it all, and it was the same price as his date's dress. I actually think he paid more than his date paid for her dress. So, and he did not kiss my daughter, so that was a good thing to find out. That was also maybe another 0.5 thing I kind of was a little concerned of. Well, to be fair, I had maybe went down the rabbit hole to try to learn some stuff about Brazilian culture, and I was concerned.
Get preconceived notions.
I shouldn't have. I should have just read it alone, but I didn't.
Seriously? I know.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, other big things that happened post Mall of America. He had to do his final exams.
Yeah.
He got to learn a lot about woke culture and how much it sucks, which was fun. He was, so this is something kind of fun. He was top of his class. Sophomore. He was the valedictorian of the sophomore class.
Really?
Yeah.
He was third.
No.
Yeah, because they had the list in the office.
The final transcript, the final scores and everything, he edged out the last two people.
That's why the principal doesn't want anymore. It looks bad that the students, smartest students in the school are exchange students.
Which they were. I mean, across the board, from what I understand.
But to be an exchange student and to qualify for those programs and stuff, you really do.
It really
have to
is
be
the best of the best. I mean, that is, he is the brightest and the best of his area, his group, which was something we were told. Like, you're not going to get, the delinquent. You are going to get the one who, is going to be the pinnacle, the best.
Yeah. Although I've seen a few now that, like, they are coming on scholarship from this or that, but the stuff they have to go through to qualify for the scholarships and stuff is intense. Like, these kids, if you're, like, on the fence about taking an exchange student, jump off the fence and just try it. Because these kids are not, like, they're not slackers, they're not problem children. There's a few that have issues that like maybe they don't have the best like
Well, I
blend
think-
with their family.
And I think some of that comes down to screening on the family's part.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we were very specific about is we are a very religious family, and religion has like a big part of our family. So we found out he was actually Catholic.
And I don't think that we'd want to accept a student that wasn't Catholic. At least not that wasn't willing to attend church with us, because honestly, it was enough driving back and forth.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to have to like find somebody to drive them to a different church to attend church or whatever.
Yeah, I think that, and we kind of talked about this just like, of course, we had just gotten our exchange student, and the coordinator was already asking us, what's your preference for the next one?
Yep.
And at first I'm like, well, whatever. I mean, I want, if we're going to try to actually be a global experience, we need to make this a global experience.
Well, and I don't think that I would be like, no, our next student has to be from Brazil. I don't think I would say that, but I would say that I have to feel like the student is going to fit with our family, and I would prefer that they be Catholic. I wouldn't say they have to be.
I think they have to be. I think because of how much that's such a cornerstone, I think it would cause too much turbulence to have one that was not.
Could be. But I definitely, I don't think we would want to, whatever student. I think we would have to find that student or the student, which is why I'm like, okay, I don't want a student this year. Honestly, I have read bios just out of curiosity, and I haven't found the student. The only student I found that I was interested, this one kind of sounds like a good match, happens to have the same name as me. And we determined that would not be easy on our family. So.
Well, and yeah, we found ones that sounded interesting. We had the one who, what was it? Pico-atarian or? Pescatarian. Only eats fish.
Yeah. But we couldn't deal with a diet like that. Honestly, I don't think we could realistically take an exchange student with an allergy. We have no allergy, seasonal allergies, but we have no food allergies. And to adjust our entire menu and life, if we had no children, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But because we're already feeding 8 people, to feed another person a special meal would just not be feasible.
So maybe we should do advice for future exchange.
Maybe that should be a separate video.
Oh, maybe we'll hit it here. We can come back to it and do it again. That's fine. But because I think we'll have more advice as we kind of digest. Because this is very raw. Just so you guys know, literally he left 12 hours ago now. But it really is I would warn anyone who's going to be exchanged. They're well, we could deal with that. No. Remember, this is a year. So unless it's something very stupid, it's something that you are not caring about, but if you're oh no, we could definitely make gluten-free meals. No, not for a whole year. You couldn't.
Don't volunteer to do that.
And that's why I say unless they are Catholic, I don't think they would. I think we'd have problems when we saw that. We have enough
other religious friends that we could, but again, it would all have to fall into place, right? But yes, I think Catholic would probably fit better with our family. But again, that goes back to fit. Is this person a good fit for a family? And that's really, really important. And if your student lies on the bio, which they really shouldn't, because that's not going to be a good
I think
fit.
They do. I'm going to warn you, they lie on their bios.
I think they try to make them sound better, but I don't think they lie.
They even lied about his height and weight. It was... He's 6'3". No, he's not. He was 6'6".
I think they just measure different in Brazil because even once he got here, no, I'm really only 6'3". We actually had to measure him for him to see how tall he is.
6'5". Well, apparently he grew to it. Maybe it's because of the higher elevation and latitude.
Yeah, he really he was a great fit for our family, but I would say read bios until you find that student that you're wow, I think this one would be a good fit. I would not hey, there's a student. No.
Well, and I look at it the same way I look at it for someone who's asking advice to be married. There are some things you can't compromise on. And go ahead and look up marriage recommendations classes. They are all pretty universal. Looking to marry someone, like, if you can't see yourself marrying this in the broadest sense of the terms, like if you're like, oh, I can deal with that. No, for 10 months you cannot deal successfully with that. Not saying this kid's bad, or it is that fit. I think that is very important.
I think the fit matters the most.
And I think he lied a little bit about Marvel. He was not as much into Marvel as he said.
I think he was into Marvel, but it was very specific Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But again, now, and I don't blame him, it is hard to watch a movie with some of you guys.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that, like, the love of cars was not mentioned in his bio.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Was it? Oh, then I missed that.
Yep, that was mentioned.
So, yeah, definitely make sure that it is at least a 90% fit. And that 10%, you need to make sure that you honestly mean you can deal with that for a year.
Well, if the person plays like a violin at 3 a.m. and you can't handle that, then don't do it.
Yeah, if you're like, oh, I could deal with.
But if you're like, oh, like I don't know about taking an exchange student, they really are pretty amazing kids usually.
And they are the best of the best. Even the ones who are problem children, I mean, they still were
really good kids.
And a lot of them, you listen to the stories, it's like, well, why did you even accept someone who is like, you're super religious and they're agnostic?
Or atheist.
Or atheist. It's
but, okay, so that goes to lying on the application. Mm-hmm. But I do think that some of this doesn't translate well on the applications because you have one company working for like 30 countries. So did they actually translate what this means correctly? And I don't think that happened. So.
And I will admit, I am not impressed with this company. Not saying that we wouldn't do it again, but there are some red flags that I saw. And I'm like, I don't like how they do this. Mm-hmm. So take that as you were. I mean, there's other companies out there.
Lots of them.
I mean, I don't know how many are actually active here in our area, but
2 to 3 at least.
And I'm not saying we're going to jump ship necessarily because the coordinator is an awesome coordinator.
Like our coordinator.
She goes above and beyond, does great. But just realize that, you know, some of these ones are, you know, they, I think, I'm not going to say they encourage the kids to lie, but I think there might be some coaching as what you should or should not put inside your bio.
Yeah. And be honest on your application.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important. If your kids like something specific or if you like something specific, put it on your bio because that is the best way to find a good match.
Yeah.
Like, don't lie and say you like dogs and you hate dogs. Like.
Yeah. And why it's less on the host parents because, as we kind of talked about, I mean, the pool we choose from is virtually limitless. I mean,
but again, like on your host, because they can still just like reject a host family.
Yeah, and I would actually, I don't think it happens as much as.
Oh, I don't think it happens often because these students are desperate to come here.
Yeah.
But. And they know that they can age out of the program, so they if they get a family, they go.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, that is we were talking to our exchange student. He knows people who missed, like they missed out. They couldn't find a family. They couldn't, you know, match up. I mean, and the coordinator does what she has to do, but she also definitely make sure that we know that, like, if you don't accept this student, they might not find anyone. It's like, well, that's your job.
No, it's a harsh reality, but it's not wrong. So, but you can't take the weight of that on your shoulders. Like, we accepted one student. We were told we could take 2.
Right.
And we were like, yeah, no.
I mean, honestly, we're already driving 2 vehicles, so.
Yeah, but we don't have a spare bedroom. 2 people would have to share a room.
And the 2 people said they're willing to share again, so. Well,
are you saying you want to do another?
No, I am not.
Like 2 next year? because
I'm not
wow.
saying that at all. I want 1 year off. That is set in stone. Like, I don't care if that, again, if you get a feeling, I can't say that even, but I'm sitting here saying that I believe that we should do it next year. But again, you'll get a feeling and I'll be wrong and we'll just move on. I'm sure we'll find one in August. Like, now that I've said we're taking 1 year off, there'll be like an August one. It'll be a girl and it'll be like the perfect fit with Swedish Compass. Like,
Can't
they'll be like,
resist it.
oh my God, they're sisters. It's an author. She likes game design. She is into cosplay.
Wants to be a
and
detective.
Wants to be a detective. Loves Final Fantasy and,
Yeah,
and
right.
you know. Shh. No,
Somehow that bio will pop up on my
it's just
feed.
gonna pop up. It's just gonna. And again, like, this is the reality for you that you have to realize. Like, there's 70% of me that's like, you're gonna find a bio. Because I've said steadfast, no, we're going to take this year off. I'm dropping the hammer down on this one, and like 70% of me is like, she's going to find one, like, and it's going to be dumb again. It's going to be like, well, you know, it's 2 weeks before school starts, just like this time is, you know, like, well, okay, well, we'll sign the pre-paperwork, and it turns out, no, it's a contract we just signed, damn it.
Right. Yeah. I will say that I think some of the exchange companies' problems are because coordinators get paid per student, so they really push to get more students. I don't believe our coordinator is like
It's
that.
not malicious. I think our coordinator
I think
wants
she
more.
genuinely loves these
She
students.
wants the kids to have the experience. She would rather have, 40 kids come in and get the experience.
Yes.
I
She's
don't
not
think
about
she
the money.
is. Yeah, she's not about the money.
She
at all.
genuinely cares about these kids, and she cries when they leave. She cries when they have a hard time. She genuinely cares about the kids, and I think that for her, it is so much more than a job. Like, she loves these kids.
Yeah, very much.
So, but I know some coordinators, that's not their motivation.
Yeah.
So, I would definitely say that meet the coordinator and get a feel for the coordinator. If they feel like they're a slimy
If they're
used
a
car
salesman,
salesman, walk away and find a different company or find a different coordinator, because that's not what you want. You don't want somebody who's just pushing you to take a student. They will encourage you, but I will say our coordinator has sent me multiple bios for students, and every single one of them would be a feasible match. Every single one of them is Catholic. Every single one of them, has a similar hobby or something that would match our family. She takes the time to get to know her host families. And so she knows what would be a good match for them, and she will send those bios to you. So, and that's a good coordinator. That's somebody who genuinely wants this to work out. She doesn't want to have to deal with moving kids from one family to another. And that's what you want to look for if you host, is a coordinator that's actually dedicated to host families and students.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And again, I guess go company shop, and if it's something you feel called to do, make sure you're set up with a good coordinator, a good company. Like I said, I don't especially like this company.
No.
There were some red flags that were posed during one of the meetings where I was like, ooh. I don't know how I feel about that. They have get-togethers where they're like, we're doing a exchange student conference. Pay X amount of dollars and your student can come. It's like, I don't like that.
But that's actually not the exchange company. That's a company that kind of targets the students.
Well, they work with the company specifically.
They work with the company for one experience, and then they contact the students afterwards, which is wrong. In case you're wondering, asking kids on their first experience away from mom and dad if they want to take more experiences, wrong.
Well, and especially, so our coordinator was very honest. She said, with this company, I'm not saying it's all of them, she's like 80 to 90% go to rural families. So it'd be like, well, do you want to see what it's like in a big city? Come to New York for this conference, for this convention. Okay. you know, that was our exchange student. One of the things, he was very happy to go to a big city when we went and to check it out and go to the bigger towns and whatnot.
But he never once wanted to go on any of their extra vacation things or. So
He wanted his PS5 instead.
He wanted his PS5. Actually, I will say our student was very money conscious, very budget aware. That's not to say he didn't spend money for fun, but he was budget aware.
He did say the Nike store was his Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He said in the video, on the last video, that going to the Nike store alone without one of us with him to be like, really? Was his Achilles heel. Like, he should not have went in there alone because he walked out with enough merchandise to equal probably a PS5 at that point. Like,
that's funny.
But that was his thing.
He loves shoes.
He loves shoes. He loves that brand, that store, which is cool.
And so there's kids who like shoes and they wear them and they whatever. He's the kind of kid who will wash his shoes, who will clean his shoes, who will baby his shoes.
And it's not impulse buy. Now, I think the Nike store might have been one or two, but, like, there were a few shoes. He's like, I want to get this shoe. Hey Dude was one of them.
Yeah.
And, like, we went to 2 or 3 stores. He looked at some and then kind of hummed and hawed. And then one of the other host families offered to take him to Appleton, which is a bigger city in Wisconsin, specifically to look at shoes. That was, like, one of the reasons he went. And he didn't come back home with one. So...
Yeah. I mean, he was very discerning in his purchases.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, yes, I would say, though, the best thing to do is to read that bio. Read the letter, because they usually write a letter, and so does the parent. I think the parent letter might be more honest than the child letter.
I think so.
Although, I don't know, because parents, of course, are biased anyway, naturally. So...
I mean... It was interesting. So we did a Skype call or a video call.
Yeah, we did a video call with Mom.
And one of the big things was his mom actually grilled us a little bit, where it was, you know, why
are you doing this?
Why are you doing this? Especially having, he was translating, which this is one other tip. Make sure their language scores are like, unless you are great with broken English.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like are good at teaching someone English. Make sure they're just top-notch English speakers.
Right.
I mean, so he was actually able to translate for his mom, and he was embarrassed. It was cute. Like, I don't want to ask this. Like, he had this whole, like, I don't want to ask him, like, why, having 6 kids, did you decide to take on a 7th? Which, in that culture, you know...
I mean, 2 kids is about average. Like, if you have 3, that's a lot of children.
That's a lot of kids.
Culture. Yeah. Actually, even in American culture today, 6 kids is quite a few. I mean, it's not the most, but it's up there.
It is up there.
So.
I mean, he kind of alluded to more to that. He had one of his friends ended up being a farmhand. Mm-hmm. So I think he was a little nervous when we said, well, we have a farm. Yeah. The reason we wanted a 7th child is we wanted a 7th farmhand. Yeah, someone else to work the farm. Spoiler alert, you guys, if you watch my videos, we do not have a farm. We have a hobby farm or a homestead farm.
And not even really that. We have chickens and rabbits. Mm-hmm. And a garden. So, but
and turkeys.
And turkeys now.
Don't forget about well, we had turkeys then too when he...
All right, fine, turkeys.
He got to help butcher turkeys.
We had poultry.
We had poultries. He got to help butcher and slaughter turkeys too, which again...
that was quite the experience.
That was the experience. When we were slaughtering, we did, I think, 2 rabbit slaughters.
2, yeah, when he was here.
Yeah, when he was here. And on the second one, I asked him, I said, on a scale from, 1 to 100, what did you ever think this would be on your, what I would do? He said, this is like minus 50. Like, I never, ever thought I'd be sitting here
helping processing
rabbits, butcher out rabbits. And
he was such a trooper about all the different experiences. Though.
Oh my God, so you want to know something funny? Driving in, we almost smucked another deer.
Yeah, I know. The kids told me.
Did they? It was close. Like,
they're like, it had to say goodbye to Louise. Actually, we almost smucked one on the way home.
You did it again?
Oh, darn. We almost smucked one on the way home. So, they're like, but the deer turned around and walked away. Rosalind, no. One of the kids, it might not have been her. No, she wasn't with me.
She was with you.
I had to have been Swedish Compass. Anyway, she looks at me and she's like, it senses he isn't in the
He's
car.
not here. It's like, I don't want to die by just a simple mortal's hands.
Seriously.
I want to die, and I go to a special heaven if there is a
Brazilian must be in the car.
In the car, I go to a special. I go to tropical heaven.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely read the bios. Read the mom's letter, the dad's letter, parent letter. Read the kids' letter because they explain actually why they want to come to the U.S. And generally, they had to write that letter alone. So if you read it and you see that they have a lot of broken English, you know that maybe their English isn't as good as it should be.
Yeah.
But yes, their English scores are important.
Yeah, I again, unless you were.
But unfortunately, you don't get the English scores until after you accept the student, usually.
So that letter is more important than I gave it credit for. Because it really is. Unless you are really good at dealing, and our
I
youngest.
think we would do okay because we're so used to different speech issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he even admitted, he said, when we first got here, our youngest son at the time had a really bad speech impediment.
Speech delay.
Delay. I'll go with delay. That's
An impediment is usually different, but a speech delay.
Speech delay. And he talked about, at first, he was very frustrated. And he expressed this, that, he could not understand our youngest son.
Yeah.
Could not do it. And we just said, and the worst part was our youngest son wants to communicate
so
really bad. And he was having a hell of a time. But then, he mentioned months later, no, it was probably about almost 6 months later. He's like, actually, having to slow down his speech and having to focus in on what our youngest son was saying helped him immensely understand English.
Mm-hmm.
It came down to a point where it's like, yeah, this is very helpful, extremely helpful. So.
Yep. And I admit, I was a little concerned. We put our youngest son in speech therapy just after or just before he came. We tried.
Just before.
We had been trying for months to get him in therapy,
Yeah, it was
almost a year. Well, actually longer than that, because before COVID happened, he was supposed to go in therapy, and it was pushed off because of COVID. And then I had to get a new referral, which took 3 months. And then we got the new referral, and then there was a 6 or 8 month waiting list, and it took forever.
Yeah.
Long story short, it was really long.
We actually had to find a private.
We have to find a separate speech therapist who is great.
Yeah.
But it took a long time to find her. Actually, I can't blame her. As soon as they gave me her name and I reached out to her, she
snatched them up.
Yeah, she took us right away.
And she's doing great, man.
Yeah, and he's doing so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew that his speech was a problem.
And our Brazilian, he the first month he was like, I feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to communicate, he wants to talk, and I want to talk to him, but I can't.
And we had to explain that, we even have a hard time understanding.
Yeah, that was.
It's okay. He's
fun.
hard to understand, and his speech has improved
Immensely,
leaps and bounds immensely in 10 months, 8 months. So his speech is much better than what it was, but.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're learning a new language a lot of times, and if you've ever learned a new one, you kind of use context clues to get the overall meaning, and then you stop listening.
Yeah.
And so with our youngest, you couldn't just listen for context clues. You actually had to listen to the whole thing, which forces you to really listen. So, I can see the benefit. I can also see the frustration.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, if you have a kid with a speech delay or something, don't let that stop you, because it doesn't have to be a bad thing. They both learned a lot. He learned a lot from our youngest learned a lot from having to repeat himself more carefully. And he learned how important it was to say the actual sounds in the words, because that was his biggest problem.
Yeah.
Because he wanted our Brazilian to understand him. And so he did take more time with his speech. It's not perfect yet.
No, it's still there a little bit. He's not graduated yet.
Although his therapist does anticipate by the end of summer he'll probably be done with therapy, which is exciting. Mm-hmm. So, but I think the bio is the most important thing when looking at an exchange student.
Yeah.
And like, if you have a preference, the country.
There and learn some of the
Look into the culture of different
cultural,
countries.
nothing. If you're still watching this, for our Brazilian, there are some social norms, especially when it comes to bathroom habits, like 3 showers a day and.
It wasn't 3. It was usually at least 2, though.
2 for sure, usually 3.
Although he spent a lot of time in the bathroom, we did have, sadly, a long discussion about this, and a good portion of that time was not in the shower. So.
Although I learned a little secret. He would turn the shower on because it was cold, and he'd use that to kind of like warm up in the morning. So even though he wasn't actually taking a shower, it was on, so it'd heat up and steam
Oh
up.
my God.
So I kind of laid into him. I was like, "Are you serious?" That was even the other guys there, because there's all the guys at that point. It's like, dude, there's this thing called a space heater. I'm like, had I known, I would have put a space heater in the bathroom where you could like kick it on high and just leave it on there to warm up, or like even in the bedroom, I'm more than willing to put one in a bedroom. But yeah, he just didn't want to mention that he was
cold.
cold.
I bought him extra blankets even.
It wasn't the blankets, it was leaving the bed that was the problem. And we did have our house hotter. I mean, the propane guy, I think, bought a new boat once he knew that we had an exchange student from Brazil. He's like, "Oh, Brazil, you say?" Because I did talk to our propane guy, because not that like we're the best of friends, but you know, it's just what you do when you're a Youper. You
Everybody knows we have an exchange student. We have people who don't know us who know that we have an exchange student. So, yes, be prepared though that they want to experience everything. So if you're not willing to like take them,
I honestly think have them write a bucket list. Have them write, "This is what I want," like about a month after.
usually in their letter, that's included.
But I think once they get here and experience what it is, I think have them actually write down, like, what do you honestly want to do? Like, what is the most important? And let's try to do that.
But a month in, they don't really know.
Then 2 months. I mean, again, at some point, once they're acclimatized and whatnot, and actually understand what is and what is not possible in the United States, you know, have them do a bucket list so that you can say, okay, well, this month we're going to, you know, just like. Okay, we might have missed like 2 seconds there because my battery's at like 20%.
Okay.
So we got the slice in there. So yeah, have a bucket list.
Have a bucket list. I would say, don't be like, oh, I can do that later. Don't do that. Don't say that. Like, I can do that later. Do it. Because they really have a finite amount of time here. And if you want to connect with these kids and if you want to, like, actually help them live their best experience, do it.
Yep.
If money is an issue, that's different. But if it's just because you're like, meh, you know,
I'll do that next
we'll
week.
do that
I'll do it
next
next
week, or, you know, just do it. If money's an issue, that's the different story, and I totally get that. Like, you know, you can't.
And most of their bucket list items, it's like $200 in a weekend. Like,
maybe.
yeah, if that.
Like, it's like, I want to go to the mall. I want to do this. I want to go skiing. I want to go sledding. I want to
chop a hole in the ice and jump in.
Chop a hole in the ice and jump in. I want to go on a glass bottom boat. Like, a lot of the stuff they want to experience is not expensive.
Yeah.
So do it. Like connect with these kids and do it. Like, don't wait. Don't be like, I'm going to push it off. Just try it. And what you think is like a boring experience is usually a huge deal to these kids. Like dragon's breath, because it's so cold outside that when you breathe out, it looks like you have like fire coming out of your mouth. That was huge for the kids here. Like, except for a couple of the ones that, you know, had lived in colder climates, that was frightening and exciting all at once. Being able to see the stars, huge.
Yeah.
Being able to see the moon, big deal. Like for us, it's simple, but for these kids, it is the first time they've ever experienced this stuff. And American Christmas, it didn't have to be like super expensive or super fancy for it to be amazing.
Yeah.
Because they'd never experienced an American Christmas before. So.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be expensive.
Nope. But anyway, my battery's dying on my phone. We cut out already once here, and we're getting texts and emails now.
I have.
So.
Our Brazilian is in flight, but apparently has Wi-Fi.
But anyway, let's end this one here before my battery totally craps out on us. Any last minute things you want to say or get across before we sign off?
Apparently, remind your student when they're on their way home to put their charger in their carry-on.
Oh no. Whoopsies.
Anyway, no, I don't think I have anything else.
All right, well, to our Brazilian, if you made it this far, we're blessed that we had you. We're glad we could give you everything that we did. We're glad we got all the experiences you wanted to do. Do know that you have drastically changed our family, altered our children, altered us even, showed us more experience, just as many experiences as you had and life-changing events as you had the same effect on us. And even though I do bitch about it quite a bit, I'm glad my wife had a feeling. As usual, per norms, the feelings paid
And
off.
as usual, per norms, you're more emotional about it than me.
I'm a little choked up. I'm going to be crying myself.
I have to
sleep
admit, when I
tonight.
read his bio, I was emotional and almost ready to cry.
Right,
So
that was just too perfect.
I had reverse emotion.
You did. You had emotion in the front end. I had emotion in the back end. You will be missed, and we can't wait to see you continue to grow. And we do definitely want to keep in touch with you and your family. And who knows? Maybe I'll take my aversion to international travel, and we'll make a trip there. I guess quick spoiler: they want to come over for your 18th birthday. I'm going to come over for your wedding. That's my goal. So marry a cute girl and whatnot. So get me out of the U.S. But
I'll go over before. Don't worry. I'll
yeah,
fly first.
She'll fly over first.
I'll learn
We'll send
Portuguese.
Mom. We'll send Mom. I'm more than happy to send her away for a week or two and
Harsh.
for the experience.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Which experience?
Anyway, we're gonna sign off. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's gonna be a long video.
It sounds like a long video.
So anyway, guys, stay safe out there. Consider pulling in an exchange student. If you have any questions, let us know. It's not as scary, taxing, as burdensome as you might think it is. It's a lot easier.
Or he has made it sound.
Or I've made it sound. Yep, I know I've bitched a lot, but I'm very happy we did it. There's a little tear coming down right now. So I'll just poke myself in the eye until it comes there. Anyway, folks, have a good one. Stay safe out there. We'll see you on the next one.